Hi there. So maybe you're one of the people that has turned into a baker during the course of the lockdown, or maybe you're someone who notices that you get the cravings for these sweet treats in the house and so on. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that in our community here. We often, you get that sort of bit of existential unease in yourself somewhere, and you go towards the cupboard to look for something sweet treat to alleviate that. So very, very warm welcome to you. So my name is Virinaga. I'm an order member at the Brixton Buddhist Community, order member of the True Buddhist Community. And so we're going to be joined tonight by Amarapuspa, who's going to be talking about that craving for things, craving for experience or foods or whatever it is. So I'm sure, like you, in the lockdown, you're probably experiencing a bit more of that at the moment, whether that's as I said, for sweet treats or a bit of Amazon or whatever. So we'll be looking into that very relevant theme in a moment. So just want to say a warm welcome to you. Make sure you drop us a hi in the chat box if you're here, and I can give you a little shout out. And and also just say where you're calling in from as well. So tonight we'll have our usual Wednesday night program. So Amarapuspa is shortly going to give us a talk, and we'll have a meditation together as well, led meditation, which I'll lead after that. But as with always on our streams, there's an opportunity for comments and questions. We really, really love to hear from you. I really, really love to get the feedback from all you guys out there as well. So don't feel shy to drop something into the comments box, a question or a comment, and throughout any of the stream tonight, and we'll respond to those points and questions a little bit later on. So I'm just going to start by saluting the shrine that we always do on a Wednesday night. So this is just us orientating ourselves towards the three jewels: the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So we just do that call and response, and you're very welcome to join in with me if you want to, or just watch. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Namah. Great. So before we welcome in Amarapuspa, I'm just going to lead us in a very quick bit of body awareness, just to help us ground ourselves, whatever we're doing. So if you grab yourself a seat, grab yourself cushions on the floor or whatever, and we're just going to tune in momentarily to the body. And you can close your eyes if you want to. And particularly just firstly noticing the contact of the weight pressing into the chair or the floor. So I really like to try and bring my awareness right to the sensations, the contact sensations. Really just see if you can get a sense of that weight of your body, that sense of sort of being earthed, being connected, being in contact with the object that's supporting you, whether that's the chair or the floor. And also just tuning your awareness to the bigger sense of your body, sitting upright, perhaps your arms hanging from your shoulders, your head balancing on top of your spine. And from there we can just turn our awareness just onto the breath. We only need to bring the awareness onto the breath gently. Let ourselves breathe naturally. And just even following the breath just for a few in and out breaths. And just really help to change our experience. and change mode. So just following the breath all the way into your chest, your belly, and then watching it leave again. And then just finally you can turn that awareness back out again into the environment that you're in, taking in any sounds in the room, maybe an awareness of others with you in the room or in your house. And just trying to imaginatively get a sense of the rest of the world carrying on outside. Great. So I hope that's a good sort of introduction for you, a good start point. I always find it really helpful just to ground myself in with a short body scan or a quick bit of breathing space beforehand. So yeah, a few highs. First of all, see who we're joined by. So we've got Karen Avadra from Birmingham, Lynn from Wiltshire, Sarah and Joe so far. So yeah, do let us know in the chat room if you're around, and I'll give you a hi. So what I'll do now is I'll introduce Amarapuspa, bring Amarapuspa in. Welcome Amarapuspa into this very warm studio shrine room today. So warm welcome to you, Amarapuspa.
Thank you.
Yeah,
nice to see you, Viranaga, and hello to everybody.
Yeah, nice to have you on stream again. So you're going to talk to us today about wanting things.
Yes. Okay.
So I hear you've got an interesting talk lined up, or one that you're been quite interested in.
Yeah, I look forward to sharing it.
Great.
So,
okay.
So can I start? Yeah.
Yes, I'll just hand over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Viranaga. Yeah. So what the Buddha said about wanting things, somehow this was a title that spoke to me. And I realized I've chosen a huge topic for just a 20-minute talk. The word things is not only vague, but it's vast. I guess it covers all phenomena, from material objects to experience and qualities. And that word wanting is so primal, so basic to human experience. And in my own life, particularly since lockdown, I tend to want experiences as a thing rather than material objects. And since lockdown, there's a particular experience that's much more in my face. It's wanting or craving food. Food has become the big entertainment, the highlight of my day. So in this talk, I'm going to use it as a stand-in for the things we can want, and also a stand-in for hungering for the things of life. And the Buddha certainly exemplified and something to say about this whole area of hungering after things. So I noticed reverting to old habits around food when lockdown began. There was a huge amount to assimilate. There was a lot of anxiety around. And when I sat down to eat supper with my partner Ratnachuda, I noticed I was tucking in before he even sat down, and then getting through the meal at twice the speed as him. And then I started twiddling my thumbs impatiently, waiting for him to finish so we could have dessert. I wasn't walking as much, and I was putting on weight and really not enjoying my increasingly bloated belly, even though I had a compulsive momentary pleasure and comfort as I rapidly wolfed down food. And all this behavior reminded me of old family conditioning. Growing up in a half Italian family in New York, good food was cherished as a type of holy grail. Every Sunday, my family made pilgrimages to my Italian grandparents' one-bedroom apartment in the Bronx, where we squeezed in with other relatives to enjoy a fantastic 4 or 5 course meal prepared by my grandmother, who was an excellent cook. This is still a vivid sense experience memory from smelling the pungent and delicious tomato sauce wafting down from the second floor apartment as we enter the building, then arriving and tucking into crusty round loaf Italian bread and red wine, down to the fragrant espresso coffee percolating away in the old tin coffee pot on the stove towards the end, with many amazing dishes in between. We would set to these amazing meals at a rapid pace, wolfing it down during very animated conversation, often coming away bloated and sleepy, with my parents talking about which diet they would go on that week. So food was love, food was comfort. And for a struggling immigrant family, it also symbolized abundance and living well. A favorite saying of my Italian mother was, living well is the best revenge. I always found this quite a statement. So what was it a revenge for? What was there to revenge? And is there anything wrong with living well, with celebrating and enjoying the pleasures of life? In a story set out in a set of teachings known as the Dharmapaka Sutta, the Buddha has a conversation about food with his old friend and follower, King Pasadanandi. This sutta or teaching has been nicknamed, "The Buddha tells the king to go on a diet." It describes the king as having eaten a whole bucket full of food shortly before visiting the Buddha and arriving engorged and panting. And the Buddha, taking in the king's condition, uttered this verse: when a person is constantly mindful and knows when enough food has been taken, all their afflictions become more slender. They age more gradually, protecting their lives. This verse contains so much. First of all, it contains a teaching about mindful eating and the suffering that comes from overindulging in food craving. But then the Buddha also applies this to all afflictions. So this mindfulness practice to all afflictions and helping us with the suffering around them. We can also hear concern in the Buddha for his friend's health and well-being for the future if he carries on like this. And finally, this is I think it's a great example of the Buddha's use of humorous wordplay, using the word slender in this verse. So it's often hard to catch the Buddha's sense of humor in a translation from an ancient language, but here we get a little glimmer of it with this wordplay. And perhaps the Buddha knew that his friend would respond to this kind of humor. The Buddha had a genius of gearing his teaching according to the needs of the person he was teaching. And obviously at work, the king was so taken by this verse that he asked a young Brahmin standing nearby, who was no doubt listening to this exchange, to come to his palace and stand next to him and recite this verse every time he had a meal. I guess because he was a king, this young man readily agreed. It is said that the king gradually settled down to eating no more than a cupful of rice after hearing this verse repeated to him. And at a later time, his body became much slimmer. And the king is described as stroking his limbs with his hands. And I really love that little detail. And then he uttered this verse: indeed, the Buddha has shown me compassion in two different ways, for my welfare right here and now, and also for in the future. So I find the trajectory of the Buddha's life in relation to food to be very interesting. He grew up having all the sense pleasures money could buy. Food would have been abundant and no doubt delicious. In an autobiographical excerpt, he said even the servants had food of a quality most people would find to be very extravagant. When he left home to become a wandering monk in search of the answer to human suffering, he dramatically left this world of sense pleasures behind, taking off his beautiful and costly clothing, shaving his head, and putting on a robe of old rags. He only ate what people put in his begging bowl, and this could be just food that they would otherwise have thrown away. It is said that the Buddha actually retched after he ate the contents of his first begging bowl, but he heroically persisted. The Buddha went to a number of many teachers around at the time, following a number of techniques in his quest to find an answer to human suffering, an answer to find wisdom and insight. He eventually joined people practicing what's known as asceticism, where they deprived the body of comfort and punished it in different ways in an effort to go beyond the body, beyond bodily sense pleasure. They believed that somehow this would take them beyond the effects of karma. And there are many bizarre examples of this practice, and the Buddha followed some of them, such as lying on a bed of nails, overexposure to heat. But he particularly excelled at following the practice of depriving his body of food. And he was respected by the ascetics as being the most extreme self-starver. He pushed it to the point where he's close to dying. There are quite vivid descriptions of his awful bodily condition. And by coming close to dying, he realized he was no closer to his quest. And he decided to eat nourishing food, such as rice milk, lentils, and chickpeas. He left the ascetics and once again struck out on his own. Shortly thereafter, he had a very significant sense memory recollection. He remembered being a child and sitting under a rose apple tree, watching his father plow the fields. You get the impression of a memory of much pleasant sense pleasure, perhaps the feeling of the warmth of the sun on his skin, pleasant earth fragrances, the beauty of the countryside, perhaps the sound of birds, the breeze in the trees. And just appreciating this pleasure rather than grasping onto it, this most likely helped the Buddha at the time to relax and enter a quite significantly and pleasurable, absorbed meditative state, where he left the world of sense pleasures behind, where he left the world of all senses behind. And the Buddha concluded from this memory that it sounds almost like a vision that came to him, that not all pleasure is bad, that there was pleasure that he described as wholesome and beneficial, and that there was a middle way between avoiding all pleasure and indulging it in a way that increased craving. And this is said to be one of the Buddha's significant breakthroughs before he gained enlightenment. The Buddha was meditating when he gained enlightenment, and he often referred to enlightenment as the bliss of liberation. So I have practiced mindful eating on and off over the years, following the Buddha's advice on mindfulness. And I am now trying to practice this during lockdown. So I pause between each biteful and bring attention to all the taste sensations and textures of chewing. This includes different temperatures, which I can find particularly interesting. And I choose food that I find pleasurable besides being healthy. And I will notice an intense peak of pleasure as I'm chewing, and then more neutral tastes. I find that after the intense pleasure peak, I can get quite bored with the reality of chewing. And then I observe an impulse to cram more food into my mouth, almost as a type of entertainment. a diversion from the process of chewing, perhaps not wanting to take in that pleasurable food is impermanent and soon will be transforming into something else. And I try to make when I can remember, I aspire to make the experience more skillful by, before I eating, connecting to a sense of gratitude to all the people involved in getting that food to me and on my plate, and the food I need to nourish myself with. And during lockdown, I felt particularly grateful to all the people involved in keeping that supply chain going, including people stocking shelves. I then make a heart wish that all people could share in the benefit of having enough food to nourish their bodies, and I've also make it a practice to donate to food banks. I also reflect on all the changes of form that food has gone through before it reached my plate, and that it will continue to go through after I swallow it. And going back to that intense hit of pleasure, I just sit and watch the craving arise in response to it. It's hard to prevent it, and I don't think I can prevent it, but I don't act on it and try to pile on more food. I just sit and notice it passing by, impermanent like anything else. I then sit with the greater enjoyment of savoring the aftertaste and flavor before taking another bite. And this pleasure without craving is a much better pleasure than the kind of rapid hit of pleasures of rapidly consuming food. Observing the craving response for food and craving for many, many other things and experiences in my life over the years, I've gone deeper and deeper into my craving response and see that for me, there is a kind of desperation in it, a desperation to escape. I think it's a desperation to escape what I see as an awful truth, that all phenomena and everyone I love are impermanent, including myself. There's an underlying wrong view that if somehow I get enough of what I want, I will be protected. Or perhaps I hold on to pleasure as a distraction from that truth. But holding on actually reduces the pleasure and increases my suffering and delusion around it. So behind me is a red Buddha, a red Buddha as a symbol of the love and compassion aspect of the Buddha's enlightenment. And this Buddha is called Amitabha. Amitabha's qualities are known to be particularly helpful to what's known as being in the realm of the hungry ghosts. So hungry ghosts are beings with huge bellies and tiny mouths that are continually grasping, but frustrating that they're not able to get what they think they want. And I can really identify with that kind of hunger in my life. And this sense that of never finding satisfaction. Certainly has been the case in my life in the past before I became a Buddhist. And this Buddha is particularly associated with meditation. And it is this deeper satisfaction and pleasure of meditative absorption that the Buddha says helps lead us to the freedom from the suffering arising from impermanence and leads to the bliss of liberation. And the Buddha stressed the importance of connecting with this type of more refined pleasure in our lives as our spiritual practice. Now, going back to my mother's statement that living well is the best revenge, to me, there is a kind of a defeatism in it, an acknowledgement that something awful has happened or exists that can't be changed, All you can do is retaliate or compensate. However, there is no escape. And I do recognize in that food is often, that pleasure for me is often a compensation for things I find painful or unpleasurable. However, when I bring mindfulness and I'm receptive to the teaching of the Buddha, I see that there is a refuge from this truth that I find painful. And that is to go beyond craving and holding on to sense pleasure as the meaning of life. And doing this through the mindfulness teachings of the Buddha, a human being who reached full and perfect enlightenment and showed us how to transcend the suffering inherent in being human through his many wisdom teachings. His teaching of mindfulness is just one significant aspect of what he taught. And I hope that I brought out a bit of how this can be helpful in working with the suffering of craving. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Amarapuspa. Yeah, I particularly enjoyed reference to your Italian upbringing, and I could just imagine you around the dinner table and so on. And also just sort of an image of you and Magnituda having dinner together as well. I sort of recognise that a bit from our community. So I'm slightly tempted to shift around the order a little bit. I think it might be quite nice to take a few questions now, and maybe me and you have a little bit of a discussion now, and then we can just I'll lead a bit of mindfulness of breathing meditation after that. So if you do have anything you'd like to put to Amarapuspa about her talk, do write in the chat box. Any comments or questions, or even just thanks, and I'll chair those for Amarapuspa. I'll also just do a few more shout outs, a few more hellos while we're waiting. So Amaladana from SE23. Sounds a bit like a nightclub, doesn't it, really? SE23, but I think that's, I can't remember where that is quite, but and then we've got
Forest
Louise.
Hill.
Forest Hill, there you go. Thank you, Amarapuspa. Yeah, Louise. Alina says hello. Ratnachuda saying hi from the next room to you, Amarapuspa. And Daisy from Camberwell as well. So great to have you all on the stream. Yeah, really great. So maybe well, we've got a comment already from Joe. Very pertinent subject matter. I know I can definitely relate. Yeah, I think there's something in that for me as well. I was very interested you've chosen this theme, because I was reflecting, or I think Amalavaja mentioned it, that it's one of the few cravings we can really fulfill in lockdown, that we don't have many options available to us, do we? I mean, it's sort of like, binging on Netflix or buying on Amazon or, whatever, online clothes shopping, or eating, really. There's probably not that much more to indulge in. So sort of, we've got some more questions coming up as well, but I just wondered if I could squeeze one of mine in first of all, which was, I had a little conversation with Adam, who's one of the other four men that I lived with last night. So one of our tendencies in the community is to, after we finished a live stream like this, we sort of convene in the kitchen for a little snack, a little post sort of something snack. And last night we were debating whether that's a good thing, spiritually speaking, or not. Whether sort of like doing that is positive. So Adam was sort of taking the position of yeah, that's just craving and we shouldn't indulge that, and I was taking the position of, maybe because I wanted a snack, I was taking the position of well, if it allows you to do other things skillfully, a little bit of slippage here and there, sort of, that's not too damaging, is sort of okay or manageable. Yeah. I wondered what you might think of that, Amarapuspa.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? Because I do think it's of course it's all down to our individual mental states and our own psychology and our own physiology. So what we're aware of might be harmful to eat for us, might be not so harmful for somebody else. It may be psychologically, personally, be a skillful means of maybe just getting us over a lip of anxiety. So I've been reflecting on things that aren't particularly unskillful, because I don't see it as particularly unskillful, but it's not particularly skillful. And I was thinking, well, how do I make these kind of neutral areas, more skillful? So maybe if you brought, pause between bites, or brought more mindfulness, But personally, I think it can be, it's horses for courses and no size fits all on that one, depending on your mental state.
Yeah, good response. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we've got a few questions here. I'll go through them here. Let me just check them out first. Well, just Lynn saying how much she appreciated your talk and recognized the imagery, and she can identify by having close Italian friends. So maybe it's something culturally, and recognize that the craving's mirroring her own. I don't know if you've got any comments on that. That's just a statement.
Yeah, it's kind of it. It's just interesting. I think our young conditioning is just very, very strong, And I'm grateful for it, but it also, I do notice it when I'm going rapid. I'm back at that table in the Bronx again.
There's a little follow-up comment from Lynn actually, who says she's trying to make food more mindful by growing her own vegetables. Connect her more with the food in a mindful way. Yeah, we've just started a little vegetable garden here, and there's something lovely about cultivating your own, and sort of knowing where it comes from and being more aware of the connections. Yeah,
I think that's a good example of how to make it a more mindful, skillful practice.
So we've got also a comment from Isabel M. She says, I just wanted to say that I can relate to what you said in terms of grasping or craving, such as social media scrolling. I think that's another one, isn't it? Another one.
Oh, it's endless. Yes.
The funds get a lot of exercise.
Yeah.
She also says, especially the idea of reaching for something to avoid other emotions or to feel some sense of satisfaction that is never actually fulfilled by that activity.
Yeah. Why do we do it?
Yeah.
When we know better. But I think that's the power of that craving urge and that desire to escape suffering, and this wrong view that somehow that we will get away with it. It will lead to some kind of escape.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I often notice myself doing that behavior, even though I know it's not very helpful. And sometimes just stopping is enough, or just waiting a little bit is enough to just, like, I can't stop myself necessarily, but if I just sort of pause, sometimes that's enough to kind of unhook it, and then I can think, oh, what am I doing? And go off and do something different.
I just think slowing things down is, well, it is a mindfulness practice. Just doing everything more slowly. Even talking, because we talk so fast, and before we know it, we say something we regret. And can we build in pauses or
Okay, good. Okay, so that's it for questions. That's it for questions for now. So if you've got anything else, let us know. Yeah, let us know. So I'm just going to, sorry, I'm just going to do a little tweak here on my audio. Just have a little comment that it's a bit quiet. So hopefully that will improve it somewhat. So just wanted to take you off screen quickly, Amarapuspa, while I will bring up the Dharmometer, and then I'll bring you back in a moment, if that's okay. So many of you will know that we've been doing a fundraising appeal here at Brixton, and we're trying to raise £2,000 a month in standing orders. And I'm pleased to say that here's our magical Dharmometer. Pleased to say that we're doing really, really very, very well, thanks to your generosity. So we're really powered by your generosity. We don't have any other income other than what you offer up, what you provide for us, and that of course helps to support all these live streams, helps to support the activities of the Brixton Buddhist Community, and helps us plan for hopefully a time when we aren't in lockdown and can go back to our physical classes. So all of that's quite a bit of work. So yeah, thank you so much for giving, if you've given already. If you haven't, there's still an opportunity. We still need to raise that extra £437 this month. So if you can contribute a monthly standing order, that would be very much appreciated, or a single gift as well. That would be really, really helpful. And I just wanted to say a personal thanks to 2 new monthly subscribers, or 2 new monthly donors that we've got. So Cheryl A and Jane O. So thank you very much, both of you, for starting a subscription in the last few days since Monday. That will really, really help to support everything that we do. Okay, so let's bring you back on, Amarapuspa. Yeah, good to have you back. So let's, I'm going to lead us in a bit of meditation now. So I'm going to lead some mindfulness meditation. So what we'll do is we'll just do a very simple mindfulness of breathing practice. But I'm going to slightly, I'm going to bring us towards our possibly positive experiences in our body, positive sensations. And in the last stage of the mindfulness of breathing practice, where you normally focus on the very subtle breaths, I want to try instead to move us on to more subtle bodily experiences, so more subtle positive experiences in the body. So basically 4-stage practice. You can follow along with me, and I'll take you through. And in the last stage, being aware of more positive, any positive sensations in the body, or pleasant sensations in the body, might be a better description. Okay, so if you get yourself set up, again, you don't need any particular meditation seat or arrangement. You can just get yourself comfortable, but do try to sit upright so you can sit comfortably for about 15 minutes or so. So you can just close your eyes if you're happy to do so. And just bringing that awareness into your body, first of all. Particularly that sense of grounding that I spoke about in the first meditation, contact with the chair or cushion. You can broaden that body awareness out to encompass your entire body. Quite an open, receptive awareness. And then we can just pick up the breath. So bringing our awareness to bear on the breath. And you can just do this quite gently. There's no need to force the breath. You can just let your body breathe. And in this meditation, we're mainly just going to allow our awareness to rest on that breath. The unfolding process of the breath. Mindfulness of breathing. So in this first stage, we can just let our bodies breathe. And if you want to, if you find it helpful, you can just add a small count to each breath. So after the out breath, just count 1. Breathe in, breathe out, count 2. Just quietly to yourself in your mind. And just up to 10. If you find you get distracted or that you lose track, just come back to 1 and start again. So keeping our awareness grounded in the body, and the experience of the breath in the body. Allowing that breath to unfold. And you might find that your mind moves around a lot in this stage. That's absolutely fine. Just keep counting, keep breathing, and just let your energy settle. You can try to engage with the breath more fully by noticing its texture, its speed, how full it feels. Just trying to bring curiosity and patience to the sensations that we don't attend to too much as we go about our day. If you find that you get distracted, that's fine. Just come back again to the breath and start your count again from 1. Now you can move on to the second stage of the practice. And in this stage, we just move the count to before the in-breath. So you can say to yourself 1, breathe in, breathe out. Say to yourself 2, breathe in, breathe out, and so on. And again, if you get distracted, just come back to 1. And just noticing the quality of the breath, how it's embedded in the body. And also with awareness of how discursive your mind feels. If you do feel drawn away, just trying to come back the best you can to the breath. Plenty of time to think about things after, but just see if for a few minutes you can relax that busyness, the busy mind, let the breath unfold. Maybe particularly making note if the breath or your experience of the breath feels a bit different in this stage to the previous one. And then in this third stage, you can just relax the counting, but keeping the awareness on the breath. Hopefully, having brought our energies, stilled our energy slightly, brought our awareness onto the breath more. Seeing if we can allow ourselves just to wait patiently with the experience of the breath, to see how that experience unfolds. And in this stage in particular, you can just start to tune in to whether or not that experience of the breath is pleasant for you or not, seeing if there is any pleasant sensation associated with the breath, or indeed elsewhere in your body. And if you do become aware of a sense of pleasantness or pleasant sensation, just watching what our response is to noticing that, whether we move towards trying to grasp, or whether we can just experience it as is, whether we can let it be and just appreciate that sensation for what it is. So that sensation may not be very strong, it may not be very dominant, but usually if you look carefully in your experience, you'll find some sense of pleasure, associated with the breath, or another sensation in the body. So what does your mind do when you notice that, or when you find that in your experience? So still breathing, still experiencing that, but just with that idea or that awareness of pleasant experience. And you may particularly find that if you bring the awareness more subtly onto the breath, particularly aware of the, as I said before, the textures of the breath, how it feels in your body, the motion. If we look closely enough and with a sense of open-mindedness and curiosity, those sensations can start to open up and feel more enjoyable, more pleasurable. All you really need to do to experience that is just to wait on the breath, wait with your awareness on the breath. And in this last stage, we can keep our awareness anchored on the breath, but particularly seeing if you can engage with those more subtle experiences of the pleasant sensation. So that may also be in the breath for you, but it may also be elsewhere in the body. Tingling in the hands, comfort in your chair, or warmth, feeling of metta around your heart. So you can just give yourself permission to go and dwell on those feelings and any positive, pleasant sensations that you notice in your experience. And just seeing how you engage with them. How do you relate to those experiences? It's with a sense of reaching and grasping. How does that change it? If it's with a sense of gratitude or appreciation, what then happens? And try not to move around too much. Try to just wait on a particular sensation. Just be patient because these sensations evolve. Just see if you can wait with that open, receptive nature and see what happens. And then for the final part of this meditation, we can just drop that effort that we're making to apply effort to attend to those sensations and attend to the breath. And we can just let all of that go, and we can just sit just for a minute or so with an experience of the whole body, which includes the breath and our emotions, our feelings and our thoughts. Just sitting, open, receptive, still. And when you're ready and in your own time, you can just start to bring this short meditation to a close. Great, so I hope that was useful. I tried to bring in a little bit around that sense of how we respond to pleasant sensations. So I think that is really it's worth exploring, I think, especially because of the things Amarapuspa was saying. It's worth, when we experience that, worth noticing how we respond to them. Don't know if you have any reflections, Amarapuspa, on that sort of engagement with pleasure or engagement with pleasant experiences.
Yeah, I think it's the Buddha really, really stressed how important it is, and we can default into seeing it as something trivial or not serious or not religious. And it really was a key realization for him, and he's very much stressed this kind of unworldly, beyond the sense pleasure that we can explore in meditation, and that helps with us grasping in day-to-day life.
Great. So yeah, almost a little bit of home practice if you want it, looking at your engagements with things that you maybe crave or desire during the course of the week. We do it on some courses sometimes, really handy for people to write them down and reflect on them. I'll also do the same tonight with my little post-stream snack, see what's going on in my experience. Yeah. So maybe we should start to wrap up now. So just to say that a few more people just saying thanks in the chat room, and thank you, Louise. You also let us know you've made a donation. Thank you very much. That's very much appreciated. And just to say we can continue this discussion on. So Amarapuspa will be leading a Zoom discussion after this live stream. So that's from 8:45. So you're very welcome to go and get a cup of tea and come back and join that Zoom call. I'll try and put the link in the description before the end of the stream, or just after the end of the stream. It should be in the description now, actually. Yeah, just to say a little note on those Zoom calls, is they're really good opportunities for people to engage. So whether you're a kind of a newer person around, or you've been around a while, they're really just open spaces. So there's no silly questions. You can just come in and say hi to people, and it's totally fine also to come in and just watch and listen if you want to. But they just give an opportunity to connect with one another and share stories really about the theme. I don't know if you've got anything further to say, Amarapuspa, about any of that.
No, I think also Amadana is tuning in. I think I'll do a plug for his study morning on Saturday.
Oh yeah, I was just about to do that, but you go for it.
Yeah, oh, sorry, you carry on.
No, you seriously, you go. That's great.
Yeah, I believe I'm not quite sure what the topic is, but I know a lot of people get a lot from it, and it's a good way to carry on with connecting with the Buddha's teaching and how we can realize it in our lives.
So I believe the theme is generosity. So the precept of generosity. So really, really good study mornings on Saturdays that Amadana's been running. So we'll also just say about a few other events we've got next week. We've got a couple of, Maitra and I will be here on Monday with his meditation evening, continuing his theme of the Buddha's spheres of mindfulness. On Wednesday, we've got Maitra Nita joining us for a theme on what the Buddha said about loss. I really like Maitra Nita. We're very lucky to have her come in and do a stream with us. I'll be hosting that, so very much look forward to that. So she's a South London based order member. And on Saturday, the following Saturday after that, I'll just key you in now, so not this Saturday, but the week after, we'll have Amarapuspa joining us for a special event. So Amarapuspa is a very senior order member in Australia, very important figure over there that helps to coordinate and mediate between all the various centres. So we've got a little bit of connection with Amarapuspa, so she'll be joining us for a very special session live from Australia. I think we're going to call it How to Help People. I think that's going to be the theme of the talk. So do put that in your diary and think about joining us for that. Okay, I think that's all I've got to say, Amarapuspa. I don't know if you've got anything to add.
No.
Maybe just a big thank you to everyone that's tuned in tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. Yeah, well, thanks very much. Nice to be on stream with you again, Amarapuspa.
Yep.
And yeah, good night to everybody.
Okay.
Everybody out there.
Get some good rest and have a good snack, Virinaga.
I will, Amarapuspa. I will. Yeah. Okay. Take care, everybody.